Hi there, this is Joe Martin from First Baptist Church in Toledo. And I know it's been a while since we've had a cabin talk, but I'm really excited to share with you. And I've been doing all these camps and spending time with kids and adults and big kids. I want to just talk to you because we're in this time right now at this cultural moment where there's a lot of thinking about the influence on the future. You know, it's easy to sound hopeless. It's even easier to turn into the kind of old man shouting at the clouds. You know, you get into this time where you're talking about technology and AI and all these things going on, or just the things going on in the culture that are really distressing and that you feel like are very much not godly kinds of influences. But I was reflecting on a number of really positive things lately. You know, I was just reflecting on the number of new babies I see at church. I went to the hospital to see someone the other day, and there was ran into a new dad that goes to our church, and there was a new baby. And I see these new babies, and I hear them. And for you moms and dads out there with these new kids, and you bring them to church, and they kind of cry. That's music to my ears, right? And the reason for that is, this may not be possible for everybody. There's a lot of heartache and hard times that people deal with infertility, but I realize it may not be possible for everybody, but adding children to your family by birth or adoption or fostering, you know what it is? It's a vote for the future. People spend a lot of time worrying and complaining about the cultural declines they see, as I already said. But some people really, some of you that are listening, you sincerely believe, you're really focused on this. You really believe that politics and elections are the biggest chance that you have to influence and change the future. And I think there's probably a time where I imagine that as well. But I'm convinced that there's another way, a much, much better way, and one that actually really, I think, will make a difference. And what made me think about it more clearly was one of our really good guy from our church, Gary Floyd, said to me, he was talking about, he had a grandbaby on the way, and he was talking about that teaching and serving children is the best way we have to influence and change the 22nd century. This is what the Bible says. I mean, Psalm 78:1 says, "Listen, O my people, to my instructions. Incline your ears to the words of my mouth. I will open my mouth in a parable. I will utter dark sayings of old, which we have heard and known, and our fathers have told us. We will not conceal them from their children, but tell to the generation to come the praises of the Lord and his strength, his wondrous works that he has done." Isn't that awesome? It's talking about this. We heard this from our fathers, and now we're going to make sure we're not going to hold anything back. We're going to make sure that we really do everything we can to make this investment in the next generation. I really believe this with all my heart. Your best opportunity to influence the 22nd century are the kids around your life. The kids that you see around your life are in your life. This is that best investment of your time. It's the best investment of your money. I would give, way before I would ever give to all these other things that I think are going to influence everything. I would invest it in kids. It's the best investment of your attention and of your prayer. You know what we at TFBC have always done? Last Sunday we had our church picnic in the park, and I was reflecting while I was speaking about that, about how this church over 50 years ago started with a VBS with little kids in the park, not many people. That's where it started. And then again, I mentioned that we had recently just a week before, announced a new staff member to help us, Lynn Nolan, her and Rob had worked in this church for many years before they were overseas, working in Christian schools in Asia, and now they're back, and she's come on to help us as a children's ministry coordinator. Now, she's going to carry forward what Mike did for many years into this cultural moment. She's going to do it a little bit, I'm sure, because things have changed and we're trying to do some things. Mike's there to help us and just to take the best things that we've learned and bring them into this cultural moment to make it the best kind of investment we can in your kids and in other kids and your grandkids and your neighbor kids and all these kids. I was thinking about my kids growing up in church, and of course, no church is perfect, but my kids had one thing that was really, really great. They had many church grandmas and aunties and uncles, and these were people that even now we still have relationships with. They were wonderful people that I would consider like my family, like many of you that are listening is my family. And, this is really, really central to what it really means to be a part of a church, of what it means to be part of a real community. So what must we all do? What must you do and I do to form a culture for caring and loving children and their families? Well, number one, you need to get grounded. You do. You can't lead where you don't go. You can't give what you don't possess. Now, for some of you, that means you need to get back to church or make church, going to church, your church, not forsaking something of yourselves together, but just to go, just to bring them or to invite your grandkids. You need to get grounded in your own practice of faith. We're going to offer a lot of discipleship courses coming up in October. Get back to those basics of grounding yourself so that you can lead them and you can be solid and you can be your most loving version of you for the sake of others. Secondly, you need to get involved. You need to get involved in the nursery, helping in there. Do not adopt a customer mentality. I did my time with my kids and now it's somebody else's. Help in the nursery, work in Sunday school. You don't have to teach the class. Just be in there to pray with them and just see kids and notice them and give them attention. Wednesday nights, help out. You could, the same kind of idea. Sometimes you just need to be a presence. Camps. We have camps for children at different levels all the way up. You could be a part of that, or Vacation Bible School when it comes around. But you can always begin to enter into a life of prayer for kids. You see a child in church, start to pray for them. Notice them. Get down on their level and talk to them. And then, of course, giving. Be really generous. This takes work. Kids don't tithe. Kids can't drive themselves to church, and they can't support them. And that's why a lot of churches don't really do kids ministries, because it's not really a good business model. But we're not in business, we're in ministry. And then get committed. To restart children's discipleship, it's going to take a lot. We've added new staff. Support the new staff, get to know them. Give, like I said, generously, pray fervently. And then fourthly, get focused. What I'm saying is get grounded. Get involved, get committed, get focused. The early church was, we talk about our culture, it's so bad. If a kid had anything wrong with them, especially if they were girls in the early church in the first century in Rome, they would just leave that kid or throw him in a river. The early church was in a culture that threw babies away. But you know what the Christians did? They found them everywhere. They rescued them. They brought them into their homes. They raised them in orphanages. And this is where the idea of godparents came from, so that if something happened to you, that godparent had already promised they'd raise your children, because many times people died of diseases. So get focused, and get focused on the 22nd century, not November or whatever. Get focused on the 22nd century about your kids and your grandkids, knowing Christ, you're praying for them, and having a church full of lovers of Jesus, so that when they turn back to the Lord, or when they're going to church, that they're in such a great church. We can be that. We can't do all the other ones, but we can be what we can be. And if we will be the people that we're supposed to be, God will give us the people that we can serve. If we will be the people of hope, we must stop doom scrolling and start hope schooling. That's what we've got to do. We must stop complaining and start imagining a powerful future for our kids And not just for our kids, but for our kids and our kids' kids, with Jesus as Lord. And so I really want you to do this. Just think about these things and start right now. Now, if you want to comment on this or contact me, you can respond to this message on our website. If you want to give, there's many ways you can give. You just go to our website, follow the menu for giving. Thank you so much for you folks giving. I'm telling you, it's so important. You know, the reason why we're called to tithe and give, it's a rule of life. It's not, it's not law for us. It's a rule so that greed does not get a hold of us, so that our stuff doesn't own us, but we say, Jesus, it all belongs to you. So thank you so much for watching this. And if you think about it, share this with somebody else you think this would help and connect with. God bless you.